Hi, I'm Holly. Most kids worry about pop quizzes or cafeteria food, but my daily stress was watching my lunch disappear into my sister Amber's backpack every morning. Holly, come downstairs! You're going to be late! Mom's voice echoed up the stairs, that fake cheeriness barely masking her impatience. I trudged down, backpack slung over one shoulder, watching the same scene unfold like it did every morning. Mom stood at the kitchen counter, my carefully packed lunch bag open beside Amber's overstuffed one. "Morning, sweetie," Mom said to Amber, completely ignoring my entrance. "I added those special cookies you like." Amber, already scrolling through her phone, barely looked up. "Thanks, I guess." I cleared my throat. "Is that my lunch?" Mom's smile tightened. "Holly, don't start this again. Amber has cheer practice, and she needs the extra calories. You just sit at a desk all day." "I have track after school," I reminded her, the same words I'd said at least 50 times this year. Dad glanced up from his newspaper, that familiar look of discomfort crossing his face before he retreated behind the sports section. "Girls, let's not argue. Holly, can't you just buy lunch today?" "With what money? You guys never put anything in my lunch account?" "Don't be dramatic," Mom snapped, zipping Amber's lunch closed with a decisive yank. "There are perfectly good granola bars in the pantry. Take one of those." My stomach growled audibly. Yesterday's lunch had been 2 stale granola bars I'd found in the back of the pantry. The day before, nothing. "This isn't fair," I said, hating how my voice cracked. Amber rolled her eyes. "Here we go again with the poor me routine. Maybe if you were actually good at track like I am at cheer, Mom would care about feeding you." "Amber!" Dad finally lowered his paper. "That's enough." But the damage was done. Mom was already handing Amber her overstuffed lunch bag, complete with the sandwich I'd watched her make for me last night. "Just take a granola bar, Holly," Mom repeated, not meeting my eyes. "You could stand to lose a few pounds anyway." At school, I slumped into my seat beside my best friend Mia, who immediately sensed something was wrong. "Let me guess," she whispered. "Lunch thief strikes again?" I nodded, pulling out the single granola bar I'd grabbed on my way out. "Holly, this is getting ridiculous," Mia said, eyebrows furrowed. "This is like, what, the 20th day in a row? You're practically disappearing?" 23, I corrected. "But who's counting?" "I am, and so should you." Mia's voice rose slightly before she controlled it. "This isn't normal. Have you talked to your dad when your mom isn't around?" "He just says it'll work itself out and that Mom's under a lot of pressure with Amber's competitions." Mia shook her head. "That's messed up. Here, take half my sandwich. I can't keep taking your food. And I can't keep watching you waste away." She pushed half her lunch toward me. "Seriously, Holly, you look terrible. No offense." "None taken," I mumbled, too hungry to refuse this time. During history class, the room started spinning. Mr. Rodriguez was discussing the Civil War, his voice fading in and out like a badly tuned radio. The fluorescent lights overhead seemed to pulse, growing brighter, then dimmer. "Holly, can you answer the question?" Mr. Rodriguez's voice sounded like it was coming through water. I opened my mouth to respond, but nothing came out. The last thing I remembered was the cold floor rushing up to meet me, and Mia screaming my name. I woke up in the nurse's office with Miss Patel, the school counselor, sitting beside my bed. "There she is," Miss Patel said gently. "How are you feeling, Holly?" "Dizzy," I admitted. "What happened?" "You fainted in Mr. Rodriguez's class. Your blood sugar was dangerously low." She leaned forward, her kind eyes serious. "Holly, Mia told us you haven't been eating lunch. Is that true?" The tears came then, hot and humiliating. "My mom keeps giving my lunch to my sister," I whispered. "Every single day." Miss Patel's expression changed, her professional demeanor hardening into something else. "Every day? For how long?" "Since Amber made varsity cheer. Almost a month now." She scribbled something in her notebook. "And what do you eat instead?" "Whatever I can find. Sometimes nothing." Miss Patel put down her pen. "Holly, what you're describing is neglect, and we take that very seriously. We've called your parents. They're on their way. For the first time in weeks, I felt something other than hunger. I felt hope. Mom burst into the nurse's office, all fluttering hands and dramatic concern. Dad followed more slowly, his face ashen. "My baby!" Mom cried, rushing toward me. "What happened?" Before I could speak, Miss Patel stepped between us. "Mrs. Carter, Holly fainted due to severe hypoglycemia. She's significantly undernourished." "That's impossible," Mom scoffed. "I pack her lunch every day." Miss Patel's voice remained steady. "Holly tells me you've been giving her lunch to her sister for nearly a month." Mom's face flushed. "That's ridiculous. Holly, tell them the truth." Dad stepped forward. "Wait, is that true, Helen? You've been taking Holly's lunch for Amber?" "Not taking," Mom hissed. "Reallocating. Amber has higher caloric needs with her competition schedule." The nurse, Mrs. Gonzalez, who had been checking my vitals, stopped abruptly. "Excuse me?" "It's true," I whispered, looking at my dad. "Every day for 23 days, I counted." Dad's face crumpled. "Helen, how could you?" "Don't overreact," Mom snapped. "Holly's being dramatic as usual." Miss Patel cleared her throat. "Mrs. Carter, deliberately withholding food from your child is abuse. As mandated reporters, we're obligated to contact Child Protective Services." "What?" Mom shrieked. "This is absurd. Robert, say something." Dad looked from me to Mom, then back to me. "I had no idea it was this bad." "You knew something," I said, finding my voice. "You saw it happening and did nothing." Miss Patel placed a hand on my shoulder. "Holly, is there someone you can stay with tonight while we sort this out? A relative, perhaps?" "She can come home with us," Mom insisted. "I'd prefer to stay with Mia," I said quietly. "If that's okay." After some discussion, arrangements were made for me to stay with Mia's family. As I gathered my things, Mrs. Gonzalez pulled me aside. "Your friend Mia showed me this," she said, handing me a notebook. "She's been documenting every day you came without lunch." Inside were dated entries, some with photos Mia had sneakily taken of my empty lunch space beside her full one. "This is evidence," Mrs. Gonzalez explained. "Miss Patel thinks you should keep it safe." That night at Mia's house, her mom, Mrs. Chen, a family lawyer, sat down with us. "Holly, what your mother's doing is neglect," she explained gently. "Mia's documentation is helpful, but we need more evidence." "Like what?" I asked. "Text messages, emails, anything showing a pattern. Do you have any of those?" I scrolled through my phone. "I have texts where I asked her to stop, and she basically told me to deal with it." Mrs. Chen nodded. "Good start. What about witnesses, besides Mia?" "My dad saw it happening, but never stopped it," I said. "And maybe my cousin Taylor? She visited for a weekend and saw Mom take my lunch for Amber." "Perfect. We'll need to talk to her," Mrs. Chen said, making notes. "Also, we should speak with your track coach. If you've been undernourished, your performance likely suffered." The next day, we met with Coach Winters, who confirmed my suspicions. "I've been concerned about Holly for weeks," she said, reviewing my recent times. "She went from one of our strongest runners to barely finishing. I asked if everything was okay, but I was too embarrassed to say anything," I admitted. "Well, I'm glad we know now," Coach said firmly. "This explains a lot." Later, we ran into Amber at school. When she saw me with Mia and Mrs. Chen, her face paled. "What's going on?" she demanded. "Mom's freaking out at home." "Maybe ask her why," I replied. Amber stepped closer. "Look, I didn't know she wasn't giving you anything else to eat. I thought you were buying lunch." "With what money?" I asked, echoing my daily question to Mom. "Did you ever once wonder why I was losing weight while you were getting double lunches?" "That's not my problem," Amber snapped, but I could see uncertainty in her eyes. "Actually," Mrs. Chen interjected, "as a witness to ongoing neglect, it very much is your problem now." Amber's defiance crumbled. "I didn't know it was that bad, okay? Mom always said you were fine." "Well, I wasn't fine," I said, surprised at how steady my voice remained. And now everyone knows it. A week later, we faced Mom and Dad in a formal meeting with CPS representatives. Miss Patel sat beside me, while Mrs. Chen attended as my advocate. Mom had hired her own lawyer, a slick-looking man in an expensive suit. "This is completely blown out of proportion," Mom began, her voice dripping with indignation. "All parents have to make decisions about resource allocation in a family." "Resource allocation?" Mrs. Chen repeated incredulously. "We're talking about depriving your daughter of food, Mrs. Carter." "I never deprived her. There was always something she could eat at home." "Stale granola bars from the back of the pantry," I interjected. "When there were any left." Mom's lawyer cleared his throat. "My client acknowledges there may have been some oversight in ensuring Holly had adequate nutrition." "Oversight?" I couldn't hold back anymore. "You literally took food out of my lunch bag and gave it to Amber. Every single day." "Holly, please," Dad said weakly. "Your mother didn't mean—" "Don't speak for me, Robert," Mom snapped. "Holly has always been jealous of Amber's accomplishments. This is just another bid for attention." The CPS representative, Miss Washington, flipped through her file. "Mrs. Carter, we have documented evidence of consistent food deprivation, resulting in a medical emergency. This goes beyond oversight." "I was trying to help both my daughters," Mom insisted. "Amber needed extra calories for her athletic pursuits, and Holly needed to watch her weight." The room fell silent. Even Mom's lawyer winced. "Did you just admit to deliberately restricting your daughter's food intake because of her weight?" Miss Washington asked carefully. Mom realized her mistake too late. "That's not what I meant." "I think it's exactly what you meant," I said, finding courage I didn't know I had. "You've always favored Amber. When I started doing well in track, suddenly my lunches started disappearing." "That's ridiculous." "Is it? You didn't want me to outshine your precious Amber, so you made sure I couldn't perform my best." "Well, congratulations, it worked. I collapsed in front of my entire class." Mom's face contorted with fury and something else. Guilt, maybe. "I never wanted that to happen. I just thought—" "You just thought I didn't deserve food as much as Amber did," I finished for her. "Say it." "Holly, I'm sorry if you felt neglected," Mom tried, switching tactics. "I love both my daughters equally, and I never intended to hurt you." "Save it," I said. "You're only sorry you got caught. Young lady, I am still your mother, and you will show me respect." "Respect?" I laughed bitterly. "You starved me for weeks. Where was your respect then?" "This is getting us nowhere," Mrs. Chen interjected. "My client has made her position clear. She has evidence of systematic neglect and favoritism that resulted in physical harm." Dad, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke up. "Helen, this has to stop. What you did was wrong. I was wrong for allowing it." Mom turned on him. "Oh, now you grow a backbone? Where was this courage when you could have packed Holly's lunch yourself?" "You're right," Dad admitted, surprising everyone. "I failed Holly too, but I'm trying to make it right now. By betraying me? Your own wife?" "By protecting our daughter," he corrected. "Both our daughters." Mom stood suddenly, knocking her chair backward. "This is absurd. I've done nothing wrong. Holly's always been dramatic, and now she's turned everyone against me." As she moved toward the door, she pointed a finger at me. "You'll regret this, Holly. When your sister's chances at scholarships are ruined because of your little stunt, you'll be sorry." And with that final threat, she stormed out, her lawyer hurrying after her. 3 months later, I stood on the track, breathing deeply as Coach Winters checked her stopwatch. "Personal best, Holly," she called. "You're back in championship form." I grinned, accepting the water bottle Dad handed me from the sidelines. Since the investigation, I'd been living with him in our house, while Mom had temporarily moved in with her sister. "Great job, kiddo," Dad said proudly. "Your hard work is paying off." "Having actual food helps," I replied, only half joking. As we walked to the car, Amber approached hesitantly. Since Mom had moved out, she'd been different. Quieter, less arrogant. "Good run," she said. "Dad, can I ride home with you guys? Mom's not answering her phone." The car ride was awkwardly silent until Amber spoke. I heard Mom has to go to court next week. Yeah, Dad confirmed. The judge will make a final ruling on the neglect charges. Are you going, Holly? Amber asked. I have to. Final testimony. Amber nodded slowly. She tries to make me feel guilty about all this. Says I should stand up for her since we're so close. And? I asked. I told her I wouldn't lie for her, Amber replied, surprising me. What she did was wrong. When we got home, Mom was waiting in the driveway, furious. The court date's been moved up, she said immediately. My lawyer says you're the one pushing for criminal charges. The district attorney is pressing charges, Dad corrected. This isn't up to Holly anymore. Please, Mom scoffed. We all know she's enjoying watching me suffer. I'm not enjoying any of this, I said truthfully. Then drop it. Tell them you exaggerated. We can put this whole messy business behind us and be a family again. You still don't get it, do you? I shook my head. This isn't about punishing you. It's about making sure you never do this to anyone again. Holly, I've apologized. What more do you want from me? I want you to actually understand what you did wrong. But I don't think that's possible. Of course I understand. I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to sign a permission slip, Mom. You deliberately starved me for weeks to favor Amber. That's not a mistake. That's a choice you made every single day. Mom's eyes filled with tears. Can't you find it in your heart to forgive me? I'm your mother. Being my mother was supposed to mean protecting me, not hurting me, I replied. And no, I can't forgive you. Not now. Maybe not ever. A week later, I sat in the courtroom as the judge delivered his verdict. Mom was found guilty of child neglect, sentenced to probation, parenting classes, and mandatory therapy. Dad was granted full custody, with Mom's visitation contingent on her progress in treatment. Outside the courthouse, Miss Patel found me sitting on a bench. How are you feeling, Holly? She asked. Relieved, I admitted. And sad, and a bunch of other things I can't name. That's perfectly normal, she assured me. This kind of betrayal leaves deep wounds. Everyone keeps saying I should forgive her because she's my mom, I confessed. Like that relationship automatically earns her a pass. Those who truly love you will respect your boundaries, Miss Patel said firmly, including your boundary about forgiveness. Mia approached with her mom. We thought you might want to celebrate. Justice has been served. I smiled, genuinely this time. Yeah, I guess it has. So, what happens now? Mrs. Chen asked gently. Now, I said, standing up. I focus on getting stronger, in every way, and I never let anyone take what's rightfully mine again. As I walked away with the people who had truly supported me, I realized something important. Family isn't always who you're born to. Sometimes it's who stands beside you when everyone else walks away. Have you ever had to stand up to someone who was supposed to protect you? It's the hardest thing I've ever done, but also the most necessary. Sometimes the bravest thing isn't forgiveness. It's holding someone accountable, even when they're family.